Mm.
As Betty mentioned, my name is Amber Brewer, and I am the manager of specialized partnerships for Ed Connective. And if you've been in the literacy space in the last year or two, there's a good chance that you've gotten an email from me, or we've been in the same space at USET. And I'm really excited to talk to you about the how the partnerships have developed and what opportunities there might be for you specific for your charter. My background is I have over 15 years of experience in education, starting as a traditional educator, but then moving into the wonderful world of charter in North Carolina. I worked at one of our state's, at the time, largest and oldest charter schools, and had the opportunity to serve there as a teacher, dean of instruction, and director of curriculum and talent development for the K-12 school. And when I'm not getting to do awesome things like this, I enjoy traveling, cooking, and gardening. Some exciting things that we do. Those are just random fun facts, but I really have a passion. The charter world is really important to me because I come from a part of our state that's really rural, and often our students in the part of the state that I live in don't have the same kind of access in traditional public schools to high quality instruction that others in the state do. And our charter schools in North Carolina fill a very important role in opening up family opportunities, family choice, and access to high quality, unique, and targeted, individualized instruction that many other schools just aren't able to offer. And so I'm always glad to be back in the charter world. So I want to start with a question. What if you or your team could have access to your own private consultant whose only job and motive is to see your success? That really they're not pushing a program, they're not pushing like a turn of an initiative for somebody else. It's literally about you and your students. Well, actually, in a way, you can. So we are under SB 127. We were partnered with to offer one-on-one support that empowers leaders to leverage high-quality professional learning so that they can implement and sustain the incredible literacy instruction happening within their schools. And so our consultants are able to do and support you with doing that. We have supported over 140 different leaders across the state of Utah, both traditional public and charter leaders. And this represents them. This nice little array represents all the leaders. We've supported over 140 now, but it represents the spread of leaders that we've uh, been able to support so far since 2023. Just to put that into perspective, that's over 80% of Utah's K-3 students that have been impacted because of those leaders that we've been able to support. We know that those leaders support teachers who work in classrooms every day. Those leaders like you inform decisions about what programming and scheduling and offerings and opportunities there are for literacy within their school. And we're continuing to reach out because we have
Mm.
partnerships available through 2027. And we want to be able to make sure that the remaining 20% of those students have the opportunity to benefit from the policies, the programs, the curriculum, and the strategies that our consultants are able to support leaders with. To break that down in a different way, we've hosted over 1,589 coaching sessions since summer of 2023 when we started for across those participants. So let's talk about the perks because there really are a tremendous amount of perks to being able to work with a consultant. And again, I'm going to underscore this because I don't feel like I can say it enough. Participation is fully funded for you already, or your designee, or your literacy director, or your whoever it is that does that work in your charter. It's already fully funded for them through SB 127. There is no required number of meetings. You can come to 1, you can come to 5, you can come to some participants done 18 in their cycle. Doesn't matter. It's whatever works in alignment with your goals and your work. That's the next thing. Meet in alignment with your schedule. We match you with a consultant based off of your availability. And if the consultant we match you with initially, your availability shifts or it's not really as good of a match, we're glad to match you with another. No harm. Our goal is to meet your needs. It's focused support that on what the work that matters to you. So we're not our consultants don't come in and say, you need to do this, you need to do that. We're looking at what are you already doing and how can I come alongside you to make your work easier, or to give you other ideas and next steps and tackle the work that's most important. Our consultants have no ulterior motives, programs, or initiatives that they're pushing. And that is actually the feedback we get most often when we ask what was your favorite aspect, was that I had somebody who was literally in my corner. They were a thought partner and they were just there focused on the work for me that I was doing for my students in my school. There is an option if you complete 9 sessions in the cycle for you to earn a half of a USBE credit towards license renewal. And there is also an option where we have individual or small team partnership structure options. So you can work by yourself on a goal that you're working on, or your literacy director could work by themselves, or whatever their role is, or they could work with a small team of 2 to 3 people total in a PLC structure with a consultant. We often get questions about what does it actually look like in practice. This is a simple breakdown of what you would be doing if you were to partner with a consultant. You'd complete a matching survey. That would be the very first thing you would do, and it would give us what we need to match you with a consultant aligned to your needs. That consultant would send you a welcome email and they'd schedule an introductory session where they would work with you to either learn about the goal you already have in mind or to help you select a goal for the partnership based off of the information you provide them in that introductory session. And again, it's all about meeting your customized needs. So when I say help you select, like we don't have pre-selected like requirements. It's just like, hey, it sounds like you're really wanting to support your coaches right now. Let's set a goal that that works towards that. It's really that kind of discussion. From there, I like to share this as a cycle of like sharing and meeting and growing. So you might share a reflection, you might share an artifact, a slide deck, whatever it is you're working on. You share a recording depending on their need. You'll share that with your coach. Your coach will use that to plan your next meeting that supports you towards your goal. You'll meet with your coach. Maybe you meet 1, 2, 3 times. Maybe you meet more. You repeat that as desired until the end of that specific coaching cycle. And then for logistical reasons, we do usually have a 2 to 4 week break between cycles, depending on how it shakes out. Sometimes there's Christmas holiday or holidays or whatever, but then you can sign up for another cycle, as many cycles as you would like to through the close of the partnership in 2027. We often are like, well, who are these people we might get matched with? How do I know about them or what they may be able to offer me? And these are just 2 examples of 2 of our fabulous coaches, Kimberly Richardson and Stephanie Jeffers. And Stephanie comes with a wide background in district and leadership and principal work, whereas Kimberly comes with an expertise in reading, literacy, and MTSS. We really are going to match you with somebody aligned to the work that you're hoping to do. And again, if you get matched with a coach and maybe you just don't feel like it's a good fit, we have others. We're glad to match you with a consultant that is a good fit for you. So when I look at this, I want to take a moment to zoom in on one of those 140 leaders that we've supported in a charter, and her name is Rachel Wilkinson. And Rachel is the literacy director at Odyssey Charter. And with her permission, I'm going to share a little bit about something she shared at a recent literacy directors meeting. She has completed now 8 cycles of coaching and is starting on her 9th since summer of 2023. She also, like many people at charters, wears many hats. She is their literacy specialist slash director, their gifted and talented coordinator, and an instructional coach. And she still teaches a set of, like, I think 6 classes a couple times a week. So she is very, very busy. But she shared recently about her experience with coaching so that others could learn about what it's like. Odyssey, if you're unfamiliar with them, they have just under 500 students, and they're a K-6 school with a wide range of literacy needs. They're a single site school, so they're not multi-site, but they have their single site with 21 teachers and some other instructional support personnel. Their mission is to provide a rigorous classical education that builds on knowledge, character, and thinking skills. And they're just over 20 years old. And Rachel started there actually as a parent and has now worked her way. She has now become an integral part of their leadership team. So instead of me just telling you about her experience, I did snip a video. We have the full video of her talking about what it was like, but I have a snip that I think is most relevant for probably speaks most directly to the impact that it had on her teachers, and her students. And then I'll share a little bit more about the tangible impacts that she's been able to see in her work with literacy. Let me make sure that I have my screen sharing. All right, here we go.
Directly to the things that they're using in their classroom every day, and it's making their jobs a lot more manageable and effective. My coach has been a game changer for me. She really did not give me a plan. She just partnered with me to help me figure out exactly what our school needed. And then we worked together to create all those systems from the ground up, choosing the right curriculum, refining our intervention, building professional developments that really mattered and were geared to the teachers, specifically to our school and to our students. And she helped me prioritize what would make the biggest impact and work through the tough conversations that I needed to have with staff and parents as we were trying to choose that new curriculum. Now everyone is doing great with it. And like I said, some of our sessions even felt like therapy as I was trying to go through all these new things that I had never conquered before. So that support that I've received has given me confidence to be able to do this job and to just really move forward and to really give that support to our teachers that they really need right now. And that's all I have.
And so, right, just to put that into quantify a little bit of like into the numbers, what Rachel has been able to share is that their school has been able to see their student proficiency go up to 73% in literacy, and it was below the state goal when she started in 2023 with her coach. That was one of the big things that she had weighing on her as a brand new literacy director then. They've been able to see a reduction in the students receiving interventions as a part of their intervention system, just from being able to make those interventions much more targeted and more specific, and higher fidelity of use by the teachers, to go from 30% of their students receiving some form of intervention to less than 10%. And, qualifiably, teachers express that they've gained clarity, confidence, and a shared understanding of what high quality meeting students' literacy needs through high quality literacy instruction looks like. And they've been able to really tie the professional learning offerings at their school specifically to the goals, to the students' needs, and have a system of support in place to continue that work. When I last spoke to Rachel, after the MOI, she just shared candidly that they had finished their MOI testing, and she had taken a little break from some of the other work that she was doing because testing took precedent, and she was really pleased with where their scores were at already for the middle of the year. So I asked, what could you do if you are one of these 140, or maybe you have been? I see some familiar names on the call. What could you do with a consultant? Could you maybe refine or systematize your walkthrough tools or processes? Could you boost the implementation of those high quality instructional practices that are aligned specifically to the literacy needs of your students? Could you model and create a culture of lifelong learning for those that you serve and support? Or could you stay true to the unique tenets of your charter while also continuing to build on the cutting edge understanding of how our brains learn to read? I hear that from charter leaders a lot. Like, we have a system, we're doing this, but we also know we want to incorporate science of reading more strategically. Like, how do we do that? You could do that with a consultant. Just to stamp, and as I get ready to close, our partnerships that are funded through SB 127 are fully funded. They're fully individualized and aligned to your work. They're unencumbered with no outside like motive, and they're confidential and accessible. They really are those things. And I hope that if it's something that you feel like is a opportunity for your school, that you'll take an opportunity to consider either signing up or getting one of those in your circle who oversee literacy. If that's not a part of your role as a director specifically, understand that. But I'm sure somebody's in your network, that's a big part of their work. And so we can either claim the spot for your charter using that QR code and the bit.ly link. I'm going to put it in the chat also, or you can connect with me to learn more about and see if this is even a good fit for where your school's at right now, and how you might benefit. Or if you want to hear more from Rachel and get the link to her whole video, I'll be glad to send you that as well. Ed Connective also has other opportunities coming available throughout the state of Utah. So if you'd like to learn about other types of support that we offer, whether that be for teachers or instructional coaches or paraprofessionals, you can also connect with me at that same link, and I'll be glad to talk to you about those as well. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for the work that you do to support teachers and, most importantly, students across the state and your charters. And I hope that you have a wonderful holiday and a great rest of your semester. Thanks, Betty, for including me.
Thank you so much, Amber. I appreciate it. You have a wonderful weekend.
Bye. And if anybody has questions, feel free to reach out. I'm glad to talk to you about your needs.
Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to welcome Megan Lopez from USBE. She is program specialist for assessment, and she does a lot of things with assessments. And so welcome, Megan.
Hi, Betty. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I am not alone today. Sorry, I think I'm getting some feedback. I have our fabulous director, Sydney McCarty. I'll let her introduce herself as well.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much. We're excited to have the opportunity to talk with you guys today about just updates with assessments. Megan's really going to do most of the talking, but I wanted to be here just in case there's any other questions that I can help support. So thanks for inviting us.
Yeah, thank you. Before we get started, I'm going to drop the link in the chat to the presentation, just in case you would like to have that to view at a later time. Did everyone see that link? Awesome. All right. And then I will start the presentation, and then I will start sharing my screen so you don't have to get screen sick with me trying to navigate. All right, is everyone seeing my screen? Okay, seeing some thumbs ups. Awesome. If you have any questions during this, please feel free to come off mute if do participants have that ability?
Yes.
You can, I guess so. You are welcome to come off a chat anytime or off mute to ask any questions or drop anything in the chat, and I'll try to keep an eye on that as well. So I'm Megan Lopez, and I am the WIDA assessment specialist. So I oversee our WIDA screener and WIDA access assessments for K through 12. And then also I work with RISE and Utah Aspire Plus for secondary language arts assessment development. We have an entire team dedicated to those two assessments. So I can answer some questions, give you just some broad overview. Sid can as well. If there are other questions that we can't answer though, or wondering queries that you have, we can definitely get you in touch with the correct people. But thank you for being here on this Friday the 13th afternoon, the day right before Valentine's Day and a long weekend. So I know that your time is probably hard to be taken from the buildings today. My contact is up on the screen right here. And my partner that I work with, Tracy Gooley, she oversees WIDA assessments as well, but for the accommodations and accessibility side, and also really focusing on the alternate access and alternate screeners. So if you ever need to get in touch with us and you don't know who to ask, email either one of us, and we're always happy to direct you to the right person. One thing you'll notice is phone numbers aren't up here. If you've listened to me talk before, you know I will always say typically the best and quickest way to get in touch with us is going to be through email. We are quite often in meetings, doing trainings, coaching at schools, doing observations. And so it's harder for us to be able to actually answer phone calls. Email, we can normally get a quick sneak peek at and respond pretty quickly. So, and if you do want to have an actual chat and conversation, we could normally give you a good time for that to happen. So we'll try to make those a possibility as much as possible. So with that, my plan for today is going to be really quick, just WIDA access updates and WIDA assessment updates in general, and then just some broad updates for RISE and Utah Aspire Plus, because there's a lot changing for testing right now. So getting in though, first we're going to be focusing on WIDA. So the first thing is one thing that is always available to all of our LEAs is WIDA always provides free webinars that any of the LEAs can attend. And I normally send these out in the weekly assessment directors memo, and I also announce them in our assessment directors meetings. If you've never had a chance to attend an assessment directors meeting, I mean, they're loads of fun. I would say watch them, be entertained. I find them entertaining, but maybe not testing's everyone's cup of tea, but they're also always recorded, so you can go back and watch the portions that might pertain to you for that day. But we do have free webinars that anyone can attend. They are recorded and they are available in the WIDA Secure Portal account. And if you don't have a WIDA Secure Portal account, every educator in the state of Utah can technically have a free WIDA Secure Portal account in which they can engage in free self-paced online professional development for MLs and instructing MLs in the classroom, but then also they can access all of these great webinars as well that are free. We do have other trainings that we do throughout the year, but we actually just wrapped up our final training yesterday. So all the trainings for the year have been completed, but these webinars and the self-paced ones always available all year. All right. I tried to make this as comical as I could so it would be memorable. So my first reminder is we are right now in our access testing window. So hopefully this is not news to you, because this window actually opened on January 6th, and there's 2 whole months to get access testing completed. Access testing is not one of those tests that you actually have to submit a time frame for. We want you to use the entire window. And the reason why is because access testing is directly tied to our students, our ML students' civil rights. I know that people are always like, that's great, right, Megan? The right to take a test. Yay! That wasn't the right I really wanted to be given today. But it is a right nonetheless to ensure that our ML students are being equipped with the academic English in order to engage in their content learning, which is a right for all students, right? And so this is just another check that's in place for those. And so by keeping a really long testing window, it allows students ample opportunities to engage in that right to test. And so we always want to remind people, if you're actually waiting to start maybe halfway through the window or even the last couple of weeks of the window, you may not be providing ample opportunity for them to engage in that testing and in that right, because what if they happen to be sick? And, testing was only taking place the last 2 weeks. Do they have the opportunity to make that up? So we always want you to consider that. But since we're in access testing, my first big reminder is bubbling. As a director, this is something that you really want to reinforce with your staff that are going to be the test administrators for access tests. There are some paper forms for students. If you are a school that has kindergarten students or students in grades 1 through 3, or students that might have to take alternate access, those forms are going to require bubbling. Or if you have students where maybe they need to take not an alternate form, but a paper test, because maybe they just have never been exposed to technology. And right now, taking a computerized test wouldn't be appropriate for that student. So they're going to take paper. All of those paper tests, it's like going back to the good old 80s and 90s, which on a side note, it was kind of funny. We have a new saying, what is the newest generation? It's not Gen X. Somebody help me. Is it the millennials? What came after millennials? Gen Z?
I
Z.
think it's Z.
I
Z.
think it's
The new
Z.
joke was
Yeah.
Gen Z has never experienced a Scantron, so bubbling is kind of a foreign thing to them. So some of us, Gen X, cusp millennials, even back into our boomer generations, right? We might need to remind them how to actually bubble, because this has turned out to be a really costly mistake for some LEAs. If any of the tests are not bubbled correctly, they cannot be processed, and it'll result in a no score, and you won't get any scores for those students. And then we have to go back and request that the tests be first pulled. They have to be found in the warehouse and pulled by people, and then they have to be rescored. Well, first they have to actually be bubbled in and transcribed into bubbling, and then they have to be rescored, and it is $250 a pop per test. So just one test is $250. So we have seen entire grades from districts where people put check marks or dashes through the bubbles. And we're talking thousands and thousands of dollars. So we don't want any of you to be in that position. Just remind them. Bubbling. It can be fun. We'll have a good time with it. And then the other most common question I am getting right now is, we don't have all the materials that we need. So if you or your assessment director, which I know many of you wear all of these hats, you've probably heard me say, oh, Sid's correcting herself. She gave incorrect information, y'all. We're not experts on generations, apparently. No worries, though. If you do need extra materials, because students, we know that students, they can be transient and go from school to school to school. So if you get students enrolling in your school during the test window that are EL, they do still need to take access. If you need additional materials, you need to do that under the additional materials tab. This is the most common question I get. So that's in the WIDA AMS account. People always try to just go into materials ordering. That was the initial window. It's not the most intuitive. You're like, well, it says ordering. That is shut down because that was initial. So you got to go into additional materials, and then you can place orders all up until like the last, I want to say they shut it off about like the last 5 days of testing. That's when, no, because we wouldn't be able to get you the materials in time. So if you need any help, contact me. I will tell you, DRC's customer service is top notch. They are so good about getting back to people or providing and helping information right on the spot, especially if you call. All right. Any questions so far? I think we're good. All right. And then, of course, just a reminder. Yes. Heather, I think you came off of mute. Did you have a question?
No, so sorry.
No apologies. I like actually hearing a voice and I love interacting with people. So ask away if you do have questions. All right, so the test window again, we will be closing on March 6th. So we have I don't know, doing math. It's a Friday. It's Friday the 13th. It's been a struggle today, folks. I apologize. We have like about 3-4 weeks left though. Again, if you haven't started, please do start right now. Some of you may have already been getting my we call it firm but friendly reminders to start testing and getting it done. The next set of reminders, we will be requiring a response. So if you're like, I really want to have to give Megan a response, start it ASAP, and then you won't have to. All right. So, and then the next thing after that is making sure that all those materials are returned on time. You should not have to pay for anything. You should have all the shipping tags. You can start sending stuff back now. You do not have to send it all back at the same time. I would say especially any of those paper materials, Kinder, Alt, and the writing booklets for grades 1 through 3. Send them back as soon as you can because they can start scoring and processing those. So there can be guarantees and no delays in scoring. When we get closer to reporting, there will be a data validation period. Directions will be sent out on how to do that. The most important thing is just ensuring that students' names are spelled correctly, birth dates are correct, SSIDs are correct. You wouldn't believe how like just one letter is off or one number is off, and it just throws the entire reporting system into chaos. So, having close eyes during that period really helps with no delays and no reporting issues. We have more dates as they will come out, but you can expect to see your your scores online on, what is that, April 30th? And then, of course, all the paper score reports will be shipped within 2 weeks from there. So you'll have everything in April and May. As soon as you do get those scores, we do ask that, you'll have to follow your SIS, but if students are exiting, we ask that you update your SIS and start exiting those students immediately. I know there's always a rollover issue, but we do ask when it's as soon as you can be updating those SIS. We cannot update the SIS on our end. I've been told every now and then Aspire can be updated, but we don't work with the Aspire SIS. So we're not allowed to even touch it in our department. So I'm not sure what that process looks like and even the timeline. So if you are an Aspire SIS school, I think your best point of contact for questions, if that's been done and when it will be done, would be, I believe, Sid might have to correct me, Leonard Brooks, correct? Okay, thumbs up. Either way, if you reach out, we'll get you in contact with the right people. All right. There is on the bottom a date that goes into June, but that's just updates. So if we do find errors, you will be guaranteed everything finalized by the 11th. Okay. Now, one thing you may have been hearing a lot about is Access is being revised and there's going to be a standard setting. And some of you might be getting a little heartache over this because you're like, oh, we remember just this past year, ELA for RISE just went through a standard setting and we had to wait forever, Megan, to get scores. Yep, you did. And, that's part of that revision process. But here's the great news. Access has been revised this year, but because we've been working very closely with our assessment team, our data and statistics team, our TAC, which is a technical advisory committee, APAC, and then also very closely with WIDA and their psychometricians, we are able to provide scores and reports on time. They are not going to be delayed. We will be using on the back end concordance tables and crosswalks to make sure that you can get scores immediately in the same time frame. So everything you will experience on your end and the students' end and even the proctors, it is exactly the same. The student reports will not be any different, okay? So we want you to go ahead and exit the students the same way you would. Everything again is being done on the back end. We're doing all the hard work so you don't have to experience delays. Unfortunately, with Rise, we didn't have that luxury because it's the assessment that we make here in Utah, and we don't have a whole entire vendor doing the work for us. There were also a lot of implications for Title III laws and regulations in being able to exit students when they should be exited. So growth will work the exact same way as well. Again, we will be doing all of the calculations on our end, so you shouldn't see any differences. If you have questions about growth and accountability, Brittany Broadhead is our accountability specialist. She'll be able to help you with everything. But I have gotten some calls about people saying, well, what's happening? What's happening? For you all, business as usual, which is really exciting that I get to say that for you all. So if you do have any questions or concerns though, as we get into it more, let us know. And then once it actually does, once things do get set on the new scales and everything, we'll be looking at all of our policies for growth and exiting. And we will keep everyone, hopefully Betty invites me back and I can give you all updates on what that accountability system will look like and if changes even did take place. We just have to take a look at it once that standard setting has taken place, which will be happening in July of this summer. And again, this is something that has been now probably announced for the past year, and I'm sorry that it is like on repeat, y'all. The alternate exit. Students taking alternate access still have not been able to be exited because there wasn't a proficiency level set. This is something we did all the work on last year. We worked with a group of stakeholders. We have determined what we would like it to be, and we have shared in many presentations what, if it's approved, it will be. I can tell you right now that RS amendment, which is including this, it's been submitted to the U.S. Department of Education. We do not have a timeline. We do not know when we will actually hear back. I will say that there have been a lot of changes at the federal level for the U.S. Department of Education and the office that oversees Title III that would be reviewing all of this for us right now is under one person, and so she has quite a bit that she has to do right now because she's the one person for the entire country. So we're not sure on a timeline. As soon as those things do get approved, we will scream it from the rooftops. We will announce it loud and clear to everyone. And I will let Betty know to do a mass announcement. So I apologize. The wait is still on. Some things are just out of our hands once we do the work and submit it. So we'll just keep you guys informed, and patience is going to be the name of the game for a while here. But apologies, because we know it has been a frustration, and we hear you, we feel you, and we're doing everything we can, communicating. Our leadership is fabulous, and they always help us with communicating with the U.S. Department of Education to try to get things a little faster. So again, thank you for your patience with that. And then We have been out and doing observations. I may have even come to some of your schools to do observations. Uh, if you are one of those schools, thank you so much for volunteering. Just remember that when assessment comes out to do observations, it's not monitoring, it's not compliance, it's not an audit or anything. This helps us meet our federal peer review requirements. And as I said, Access was overhauled this year. So we will have to submit for federal peer review. And this is a way that we show and prove that our tests are valid and reliable. And part of that process is showing that we are out and observing the tests. We know what's happening in the schools. We are there to provide technical assistance if needed, but also to gather your good feedback. Without your good feedback, we don't know what we should change or do to improve our support for you. So we always welcome that feedback. And I want to just say thank you for all of those of you that did volunteer. It has been fabulous, and there have been a lot of lessons learned. I will just say, if you have people coming out to observe assessments, one thing that and Sid might want to speak to this a little more, but one thing that I have really tried to make front and center is making sure the students know who I am, and my purpose for being there. We never want to walk into a building, and we don't ever want students to feel uncomfortable or scared. We want what's best for students. So I will always say, if I show up at your building and it is not creating the best testing situation for your kiddos, please always feel free to ask me to leave. Okay. We want them to feel as comfortable as possible, and we don't want to disrupt their testing experience. So, again, as we keep doing more and more observations, lessons learned, we will be sharing. One question I will say I've gotten quite a bit that I was surprised at is test administrators asking, well, can you change the student's tier? Access is also a semi-adaptive test, and based on how the students perform, they get placed into tiers. We cannot change tiers except in pretty extenuating and rare circumstances, typically test administration, errors, students getting testing tickets mixed up, or even instances of cheating. It is rare, it can happen, but typically we do say no, the test is, and just as a reminder that Access, anything WIDA related, it's not a content test. It is an assessment to measure a student's academic English. So what kind of academic English do they have in order to engage in that content learning? Okay, so it is not a content test whatsoever. They're actually given all the content they need. It's their ability to use that content in reading, writing, speaking, and listening that the test is going to be measuring. All right, and then, oh, and here's our number. Snuck it in. A couple of good resources, if you are not familiar with, are linked on this slide, and our numbers if you're like, I really just do want a voice. But patience, again, would be the name of the game till we can get back to y'all. So reach out if you do have any questions. Before we move on to the next portion, does anyone have any WIDA access or screener questions for me? And then I'm going to try to fly through this because I know other people are up. Thank you. Okay. Really quickly, Rise. Okay. Your main contact for Rise is going to be Elise Fry. She is fabulous. She has all the answers all the time. So if you have any questions about Rise, please contact Elise. Here's her email. This is my Megan because I do oversee secondary ELA for Rise. We really, really need help getting the 7th grade benchmark writing test field tested. We got all the other grades last year except for 7th grade. We even got the 8th grade. 7th grade, we're not sure what happened. Utah, help us, please. So they are already available. The Rise Seventh grade writing benchmarks. We are only releasing one benchmark at a time to be field tested. As soon as we get enough students, then we're going to release the next one. Benchmarks are great practice. You can see the prompts, you can actually see the student responses. But I I really am begging. We really need them because we want these available to all Utah students. And without having enough field test participants, we can't we can't have them available all the time. So let's go seventh grade. Put a plug in with your seventh grade language arts teachers. All right. And then one thing that my math colleagues wanted to remind everyone of is that math clusters, because we have traditional items and then we have clusters, which are the multi-part items. Those are still being field tested. They wanted you to be aware of them. When students do see clusters right now, and Sid, make sure I'm saying this right, they are not factored into their score whatsoever. That is a question we've been getting a lot from the field. So when students encounter them, you can practice them on the practice test to get used to what it's going to be like. We want them to do those clusters with fidelity and try really hard because we are collecting field test data to make them go live, but they are not going to affect their overall summative score. Doesn't count against them or for them if they do really well. We're still collecting that data. Sid, I got that correct, right? Nice. Listen, look, on a Friday, still on top of things. There was a training that took place on the 10th for administration. If your LEA did not get a chance to attend that, it was recorded and I believe it is now posted. Guess what? USBE assessment, we have our own YouTube page. You can go and watch us anytime, and these trainings are all posted. So if you missed it, there you go. Even more entertainment on a Friday night, folks. All right. And then just the remote administration guidelines. The biggest thing that we want to remember is we're always getting asked about remote testing. It is available on Rise and UA Plus, but it is only available to students who are completely online students. So even if you have a kiddo that's taking driver's ed in a brick and mortar, they are not fully online. So it has to be completely. I don't understand how driver's ed could be online because I kind of feel like that should be in person, but that's always the example that I hear. So we're going to stick with it. Oh, look, the attendance channel is way more. We got some competition, folks. Megan, Megan's must speak the same language. I love this. All right. Do also remember though, we have the two proctor rule for test administration. When it's in person, one of those proctors can be a roving proctor. That second proctor for remote testing, not an option. They both have to be in the virtual room. Okay. All right. And then of course, we always want you training tests, practice tests for those students. They should not be experiencing any testing platform for the first time in the real test. Okay. We don't want technology to get in the way of their testing experience, and especially from them being able to show us what they truly know and have learned. So get them on the practice tests. And then I'm almost done. Utah Aspire Plus. Elise Fry is still your gal. And guess what? After you guys administer this, you can all just wave goodbye to Utah Aspire Plus, let it sail off into the sunset. It is retiring. It's going to have a great retirement. It's going down to warmer, sunnier pastures. This is the last year we're doing Utah Aspire Plus. Legislation did change, and 9th and 10th grade are being brought back into the Rise fold. So a couple of questions that I've gotten a ton of, just even ELA related is, well, is it going to be kind of the same? Nope, it really is the RISE way because it was brought back into that legislation. It's going to be computer adaptive. Okay, it is not a fixed form, the same way Utah Spire Plus was, right? Not a fixed form, and it's not timed. Okay. Also, it is end of course. It is no longer going to be end of grade. So I have definitely seen, even with teachers that have come to assessment development workshops, because we are already working on developing the new ninth and 10th RISE assessment. It's even taken a lot for the teachers to shift their minds over to it not being fixed form, not being end of grade, and not being timed. So these reminders will really, really help. There is your resource center and all the schedule of events, your testing window, although you choose your window, I believe, during that time. And there are trainings happening. Knowing Elise, they're going to be on our amazing, fabulous YouTube page. Super engaging. I know. Listen, Valentine's plans. Everyone wants a UA Plus training. I bet your significant other would really appreciate that. Um, Same messaging for our remote administration, okay? Only all online, and then the two proctors in that virtual room. So those are the reminders. Please get the students in there practicing. We have the tutorial, the question samplers, and again, this is their last big hurrah. So have them just send it off with their best scores ever, what we're hoping for. And that is it for me. I am so sorry I went over. I apologize, but thank you all for being such a great Friday afternoon audience.
Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you, Sydney, also. You guys rock. So we'll keep in touch. Or if there's any questions, put it in the chat. I don't know if we have questions. I don't see any questions.
And I can stay on for a little bit, so if anyone needs.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan and Sydney. I appreciate it. Now I'm going to introduce Megan Menlove and Garrett Russell. I believe he's still on. Yep. And they're from USB also, obviously. And they are the wonderful, amazing program specialists for our attendance. Yes, our attendance. I almost said assessment. Sorry. Our attendance group. So welcome, Megan and Russell.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Am I good to share our slideshow?
Yes.
Sweet. All right, let's get this going. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for having us. My name is Garrett Russell. I'm one of the attendance specialists here at USBE. I love the fact that we got to come and present for charters. I started my teaching career here in Utah at charter schools. So I was in Voyage Academy and then Greenwood Charter School as well. So I love being able to work with charters. We're going to be presenting today about increasing student attendance and just what we offer at USBE to support LEAs with attendance and everything. Before I get started, though, I'm going to let Megan introduce herself as well.
Thanks, Garrett. Yeah, I'm Megan Menlove, not to be confused with Megan Lopez, who just presented to you. But I would dare to admit that our YouTube channel is probably a little more exciting than assessment. But who knows? I haven't watched their YouTube channel. But yeah, I am one of the attendance specialists with Garrett, and I've worked here at USBE for just over a year. And before that, I came from Alpine School District where I spent 20 years, most of those years as an administrator in high schools and junior highs and elementaries actually. So we're excited to be here today and talk to you a little bit about attendance. Garrett's going to start us off and then we'll kind of just trade off. So hopefully, but if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And we'd be happy to answer anything at the end too.
Awesome. All right. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is our supports that we offer. These are either on request or we directly reach out and offer our supports, and we'll kind of get into that soon. But the first thing, the last year, Megan and I developed an attendance toolkit that we have up on our website. It is basically a toolkit for schools or districts that are starting to hop into attendance work. Where should they start? What does that look like with creating an attendance team, agendas, calendaring, things like that? And then how to get more stakeholder engagement, looking at students, parents, community members, how you can leverage data to identify students that are at risk and also to celebrate some wins. And then we look at how you can create an MTSS structure with a focus around attendance. And then making reflections, adjusting, celebrating, SMART goals, things like that. And this is a living document, so we do update board rule and legislation because that changes every single year, as we know, which is happening right now. But this, like we said, is on our website. There's a link in the slide as well. So I'm guessing these will be shared out at the end. You guys can click on that. The next thing that we have are engagement and attendance cohorts. This is a year-long learning opportunity. We reach out to districts or individual schools based on their previous year's chronic absenteeism rate. And then it's kind of we call it the coalition of the willing. There's no mandate to engage with us at this time, but if you're looking to increase your attendance rates, reduce your chronic absenteeism, we start this in the summer. It's typically admins or counselors that are engaging with this work. And we immediately dive into revising policy and then looking again at MTSS structures. A lot of this aligns with our attendance toolkit as well. Developing a messaging campaign around attendance and then calendaring out your year for attendance. And the best part about this is that every single year, we're going into our 4th year of our cohort. We've doubled the previous amount of participants that have been in there. So we started at 6, now we're up to almost 30. Reach outs have been going out like ongoing since January. So if you get one, you have questions, reach out to me or Megan. We can clarify some things, but you learn a lot from the members. You work with like first year members all the way up to 3rd or 4th year members now. So it's kind of a good problems of practice learning space where you can see what others have done, the steps they've taken to develop their systems for fidelity, and just some areas of improvement that you can do as a school or a district as well. This is a list of our participants. A lot of charters. So the original year, I think we had like 1 or 2. I would say we're over half charters now, which has been awesome. We'll kind of leave this up for a second so you can check it out, but it is cool. We know that charters operate a little bit differently where you don't have a district support level structure typically, unless you're a larger multi-campus charter school, but just being able to figure out what other smaller entities are doing so that you can kind of replicate that, and even partnering with other charters to figure out what they're doing, learn from them, and then see how they're leveraging community partners and things like that as well. We also started attendance webinars. So these are bi-monthly. We change our focus based on what our previous one is, or our previous recommendations are, what people are reaching out to us with questions about, updates and things that kind of are relevant for that time of year as well. So our next one is going to be March 10th at 10:30 a.m. We have a representative from DCFS and JJYS, as well as our court system. And they're going to be talking about educational neglect, how to make a referral. And then we're going to do some updates about legislation. And then we'll kind of end our academic year looking at district and school policies so people are able to roll into that summer work with something that they can start updating. And we're also right now finalizing a model attendance policy that we can release at the state level and hopefully is really utilized for a lot of people. That's a lot of our requests are about policy. Right now, Megan is awesomely sending out a monthly newsletter. If you would like more information, if you're not already receiving this around attendance, her email is right there, and it's also at the end of our slideshow, so you'll be able to get access to that. But we have new research, articles, resources, success stories around Utah, just a different way to continue that conversation and grow our culture around attendance so that people are seeing what's happening and what's working. And then I oversee Check and Connect for the state on the prevention side. It was brought to Utah for Youth in Care, and now is expanded to prevention. And it's about a 50-50 mix, about 1,500 kids per program. But basically, Trek and Connect is the only evidence-based Tier 2 mentoring program. It's gone through the What Works clearinghouse. And so a lot of people are looking at that for grants. This year, we will have the Prevention Block Grant opening again. We actually have 0 charter schools that are utilizing this program, but we have, as a state, taken on the contract for Check and Connect. So I myself am a trainer. We have 4 other trainers in the state. We train all mentors, provide all the materials. We have a new data dashboard that was created. We're the only program in Utah that has implementation data, so we can see live what's happening, follow it for fidelity. The only caveat is that charters have to figure out how to pay for the mentor. And so that's where the Prevention Block Grant comes in. Some people are utilizing existing paras. There's some flexible options that they're looking at for the actual mentors, but we are seeing awesome growth, especially with students that have the same mentor for at least a year. Their attendance is increasing, behaviors are reducing, and then credit accrual or just GPA is going up as well. So it's an awesome program. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, and we have a little packet and we can kind of line you up with our upcoming trainings also. And then this is why we got invited. Betty is awesome. So she invited us because she's part of our statewide attendance team at USBE. Megan and I started this up as well over the last 2 years. And so we just needed cross-departmental collaboration. Charter schools, attendance specialists, graduation specialists. We have SPED transition specialists, data and statistics, policy, family and community engagement, teaching and learning. So we just have a good spectrum of people that are able to contribute, talk about things that they're seeing, things that they're hearing. But our goal right now as a team is to reduce chronic absenteeism by 50% over the next few years, which would bring us back to our pre-pandemic levels around 11.9%. Ironically, we did not reduce or increase at all this last year. So it didn't get worse, but it also didn't get better. So we're looking to get more contribution and more support out to schools and districts so that we can try to reduce chronic absenteeism. But overall, every single school or district that's participating in our year-long learning cohort did reduce their chronic absenteeism. So we know that that program is effective, and we'd love for more people to join and figure out what's working across the state. And now I'm going to pass it over to Megan. She's going to talk about our statewide attendance campaign that we launched this last May.
Yeah, I think Betty's already kind of gone through this with you guys, so we'll kind of just go quickly through these slides, but just letting you know, if you didn't already know, that we did launch a statewide attendance campaign. Why did we do that? Because we know that absenteeism is rising. We know that messaging works, and we know that everyone plays a role into that. And so we're hoping by having a statewide attendance campaign that is statewide with the same message, that will increase our conversations around attendance, but also, most importantly, to obviously get more kids at school. So we want students to be where they need to be, this is not a campaign to promote kids going to brick and mortar or to go to their neighborhood school. This is a campaign that says to parents and to students, pick a school and go to school. Our goals with the campaign are obviously to reduce chronic absenteeism rates, increase daily attendance, and then to raise awareness of why it's important for students and for families for kids to be at school. Part of our campaign, there's a lot of different aspects, and I'm looking at who's on this call, and I'm not sure if a lot of you are already involved in what we're doing. So this is awesome. So hopefully today you can learn something and you can decide to join us. The first thing is we did launch a statewide attendance challenge. That challenge started at the beginning of this school year, but is ongoing and will continue to go through next school year. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We also have attendance ambassadors, which we would love to invite all of you to become attendance ambassadors. There is monthly messaging that includes newsletters and little blurbs you can put about attendance in your newsletters and to anything that you send out to parents. There are social media posts. There's obviously our attendance toolkit is also included in this. And then we already talked about the webinars and other professional learning opportunities through our engagement and attendance cohorts. So if you want to join our challenge, really, it just is simple. You just have to unite your school, get your families together, and then talk about how you want to improve attendance at your school. Empower your teachers to connect to their students to take daily attendance and build positive relationships. We are tracking progress. We've asked people to fill out kind of a mid-year survey. Obviously, if you join now, obviously we wouldn't ask you to fill that out, but we do want people to share their stories, and then we share those stories out through our newsletter, through our social medias. We love highlighting the positive things that are happening. You hear a lot in the media sometimes about negativity around chronic absenteeism and about how kids are just not going to school. So our goal, obviously, through this campaign is to show that there are a lot of positive and awesome things happening across the state when it comes to attendance. Obviously, we want you to engage with your families as partners and then celebrate and inspire your community, sharing your success with your community, but also with us and with the state. There are a few quotes on this next slide just about why people are joining the attendance challenge or why they joined our attendance challenge. I think it's important to note that people are doing it for different reasons. Some of them are like, I don't know, I just want to do something. A lot of them are like, we just want access to resources. The resources are available to everyone, regardless of whether or not you join the challenge aspect of this. I'm going to drop in the chat the link here if you want to sign up for our attendance challenge. Again, like I said, it's not too late to join for this year, or if you want to put it as a link conversation you want to have with your leadership team at your own LEA to talk about if that's something you want to do next year, approaching this coming school year next year, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Also, a big thing that comes with our challenge is we've heard from a lot of people like attendance is a challenge because we don't have time. You guys are very busy. You're doing a lot of different things. And so we've created a lot of easy resources that you can just copy and paste and utilize to help increase attendance and increase messaging across your schools. So we offer monthly newsletters. We have email messages. They're scripted. You just copy and paste them. Kind of already talked about this. And we have sample social media posts. We have a bunch of different posters and flyers. We have stuff that community handouts. We have parent handouts, a lot of different things. We also have access to the statewide attendance Google Drive. This Google Drive includes all of these resources with the campaign, but also examples of attendance policies, examples of attendance letters, teaming agendas, other campaigns that people are running on a local level. So tons of resources in this statewide attendance Google Drive. If you would like access, please just send us an email, send me an email. We're happy to share any of those resources. The last thing we're going to talk a little bit about just with the campaign is just the idea of becoming an attendance ambassador. An attendance ambassador is simply just someone who's working hard to promote students attending school, which I'm sure all of you are. You have to know about the campaign and help spread the word, not really just have to know about it and tell people to talk to us or talk to Betty. She's already an attendance ambassador. You have to care about students and their success in school and out of school, and then just supporting others and pointing them to resources. So if that interests you, we would love to invite you to become an attendance ambassador. Garrett, if you'll go to let's just go through really quickly. These are some familiar faces for some of you, if they're not. But here are all of our awesome attendance ambassadors. We love showing this. We love showing all the people across the state of Utah who are promoting attendance in school. So there's lots of people. We have USBE partners, we have LEA partners, we have community partners, and we even have 2 student partners who have joined us as attendance ambassadors. Like, how awesome that there are 2 students in schools that are saying, I want to promote that. As you can see, we got lots of room for new attendance ambassadors. So we invite you to join us. I will drop the link to this survey in the chat if you want to click on that. It's a simple Google survey. Again, there's no extra work. People always ask me, like, I don't have time for one more thing. And I'm like, this literally is just putting your name and your face out there saying that you want kids to go to school. That's it. So, no extra work to you or to other people in your building unless you want. We'll obviously reach out to you, welcome you to becoming an attendance ambassador and offer help. But if you don't have time or that's not something you're looking for, then no pressure. So that's a little bit about the campaign. Any questions? I know you've already kind of heard about it, but we would love to get more people involved, obviously. There's so many awesome resources out there that we can just give you, and then you can just send them out. You don't have to create them. You don't have to do anything. So let us know if you have more questions. And then Garrett's just going to talk to you a little bit about some of the awesome things that we've seen happening around the state when it comes to promoting positive attendance.
Sweet. Thanks, Megan. And also, we did have board appropriated money to work with an outside marketing firm, which is being held through legislative season. So ideally, this will be promoted a lot more and a little bit more professionally as well. This was done on zero budget with just this attendance team that's been rocking, primarily Megan. So big applause for her. So yeah, keep looking forward to that. And it's the Everyday Counts campaign, if you hadn't heard the name before. So just some highlights for what we're seeing around the state with districts or schools that we work with individually. What's being done in Utah. So across Utah, LEAs are doing incredible work. Right now we're seeing through research, through our partnerships with schools and districts, that community resources are the number one thing that is moving attendance. Connecting schools to resources through your community, whether that's prizes, outside entities that are coming in to help support mental health, even telehealth resources we're finding out about now as well. Just figuring out different ways to make your school a resource hub. We have districts and schools that are bringing in hygiene kits, food. We even have some that have kitchens, laundry facilities, things like that on site so families can come, they can cook meals, they can do their laundry. So our schools are becoming even more of a resource hub for our communities. Our schools and districts that are making a real big impact and decreasing chronic absenteeism are establishing attendance teams that can work together to address their attendance issues, promote positive attendance, and keep that culture and focus on attendance year round. We are also seeing a big push for attendance specialists. We even have a bill that has a fiscal note in that if that passes this year. So there could potentially be an attendance specialist at each school or district. But this is somebody that's solely focused on attendance. We always joke that we're the state attendance dorks, at least I am. That's like our entire job. We get to talk about it all the time, where you guys have a million other things and you wear 100 different hats. So it would be nice if at your school or district we had somebody that was individually focused on improving attendance, messaging, resources, anything like that. Also, we're seeing a lot of consistent stakeholder messaging, whether that's through some sort of monthly media, putting it up on a marquee outside the school, a newsletter. But people are identifying their attendance goals, their current attendance data, launching their own attendance campaigns, talking about the impact of missing school or classes. Since we just got through a pandemic over the last few years, how sick is too sick? We know that families still think that there's certain times they should keep kids home when they're sick, and that's not always the case anymore because we're through that cycle. We're getting stakeholder feedback through surveys or focus groups to find out what the climate is. We know that like friendly adults, welcoming school cultures, those things bring kids in. And so we want to figure out what the climate is in those schools and also address barriers that families and students are feeling about why they're not coming. The MTSS structure I know we talked about, but really developing those tier 1 universal practices and staying grounded in that foundational aspect while you develop your tier 2 and even those tier 3 levels, which are going to be more significant time and more intensive supports for families and students. So looking at this as including families because they're a big part of that attendance picture. Revising policy. Almost every single school or district that we start to work with has not updated their policy and procedures in the last 5 years or even post-COVID. So we know that they're outdated. We've had a lot of legislation changes. We've had board rule changes. and also things that happened before COVID and during COVID aren't relevant now. So we want to try to make sure that they're up to date. And then looking at attendance matrices, we have a lot of districts that are creating those, identifying the steps, who's responsible, what resources need to be created or made to make that position more accessible for either teachers or families, and then messaging that out. So a family understands why they're getting a phone call, they understand why they're getting a friendly letter. And so these things are really transparent for families and they know those processes as well. And then also for teachers too. We have districts and schools that are holding family engagement nights where they're bringing in all their families that are identified at risk, and they're getting any adult in the building, teachers, admins, secretaries, kitchen staff, janitors. So they're getting everybody together to become an attendance ambassador in their spot. They're bringing food in so families want to come, and then they're doing a follow-up after a preventative problem-solving plan, so that families know that there's some accountability. We're watching, we're here to support, and just trying to highlight that the school's there to support. What are your barriers? Let's address them together. We even have districts that are creating educational videos for families that they send out after they hit certain attendance thresholds, and those have been pretty impactful. We do know that studies have shown that that teachers are the preferred first contact for families. They're kind of looked at as that classroom parent, where if an administrator is reaching out, that's typically has that punitive aspect. And so we're trying to figure out how can we support teachers, give them scripts, times to call, what supports teachers just need overall to become more of a driving force of the attendance system instead of somebody that's sitting and waiting to be told what to do. But that's another lift and another ask for teachers. So how can we help support them with something more that we're asking them to do? And then also, how can we get them as part of the process? What barriers do they have to engage in this as well? So just a few highlights. These are a few of the charters that we work with. Ogden Prep Academy has been this is their second year, going into their third year of the attendance cohort. So they launched their own campaign. It's called Rise Up, Show Up. They're also doing attendance awards in each classes. They're doing yard signs in multiple languages. Same with their posters that they have in the office and flyers that are sent home. So understanding your community and creating that equality for everybody and with multiple languages. They have attendance incentives on all of their campuses, social media posts that they send out. They have a total percentage of students who are chronically absent, and that's down from 21% to 17% over the last couple of years. So they're trying to reduce that as well, and they're seeing success. Their tiered attendance interventions at each building includes their family and admin meeting, which is a huge part. They have an attendance contract, and that requires student and family support. So these are a few of their flyers, posters, and social media posts that they have developed. And then they also have an attendance pyramid for interventions and strategies. And then they have multiple campuses, but looking at their elementary, they were able to reduce from 39% chronic absenteeism down to 27%. So almost a 12% increase or decrease. I always say I'm backwards. Their junior high has put in place attendance contracts. They have champion teachers, and that's cut their number of critically identified students from 18 to 16%, which is a big jump when you're looking at those higher chronic attendance students. And because of that, their passing rates have also improved for those critical attendance students. We know that being in school, you get the lesson from the teacher, you get to work with your peers, and your scores should be going up. And also the performance in the classroom will increase as well. And then this is just a couple of their incentive examples at the bottom. And then Salt Lake's Art Academy has a focus on attendance as an entire school. And they've created individual parent, student, and admin meetings that happen consistently that try to address the barriers and help individual students and families get to school more regularly. So another school that's really like putting a focus and a plan for attendance. We have Walden School of Liberal Arts that are holding a monthly attendance meeting as a team. This is something that they just established this year. They're handing out a piece of candy when kids arrive on Fridays because that's a low attendance day. So trying to get that like excitement around it, kids coming in. They have an upcoming attendance spirit week in March that they're getting prepared for right now. They've been part of their attendance calendaring was planning these things ahead of time. And so they're promoting it, getting students excited. They look at their weekly attendance reports. They share that with the attendance team. They send notes out to their counselor as far as next steps or their supports or interventions that need to be happening with that student. And then the front office is really making a push to remind teachers at least 15 minutes after starting class to take attendance if they haven't already. We know we can't really address attendance if we don't have good data. And so trying to make sure everybody's participating and actually taking attendance has been a big push for them. Down in St. George at St. George Academy, again, looking at attendance meetings, but they're doing this weekly as an attendance team instead of just monthly. They've increased their capacity for that. They've started doing home visits and looking at how they can meet people where they're at neutral locations and things like that as well. They have been able to partner with the community to get gift certificates to reward students that had perfect attendance over the previous week. They're just randomly drawn, kind of like a Wheel of Fortune style. They're planning a party for the previous attendance celebrations. If they've had 2 or less missed days, then they're part of that. They're sending positive phone calls home. So instead of always getting a call saying you missed or your kid's in trouble, they're starting to send phone calls home of like, we've noticed that you're here more. We really appreciate your effort. Even recognizing parents, which is their next one. Especially for younger kids, parents are the way that they get to school. So recognizing parents has been a really impactful thing for them because that's who's really driving their attendance growth. Once they know more, they want to participate more. We have American Academy of Innovation that is holding quarterly attendance parties right now. And they've also partnered with the new Bees baseball stadium, and they're getting free tickets for students that have the best attendance. Every monthly newsletter that goes home, they've now included an attendance section so that that's constant. And it's just going to be that consistent messaging coming out. And they're working with nearby businesses so that they aren't serving students during the school day, which is a big deal for them. A lot of kids will leave campus, go and hang out at Walmart or hang out at whatever business. And so they've partnered with them to shoo them back to school so that they're actually in class when they're supposed to be. And then we have Pacific Heritage Academy. They have a monthly assembly where they recognize the best class with an attendance trophy. Every student that has perfect attendance, and they alternate what that prize is every single month. They did an attendance campaign for November and December, and they had a 6-week push for that campaign. So it was a pretty long incentive, and every kid earned a raffle ticket every Friday that they had a perfect attendance. And then every 2 weeks, they were donated gift cards or prizes that they would raffle off to students who met a certain criteria. They're sending social media posts out, and they've created attendance success plans that parents and students partner with the admins to create so that they can increase attendance. All right, and I think that's kind of the end of ours. I know we're close up to time, but we wanted to leave a little bit for questions if anybody had anything.
Are there any questions? I think we have crickets, but it's okay. But again, just reach out to me if you have any questions. I can help you guide you to resources. We can chat about some of your ideas. Just know that I'm here to help. And Garrett and Megan are doing an amazing job with our meetings and all that, especially the webinars. So very helpful. So yes, thank you so much, Megan and Garrett. I appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah,
And
thanks for
so
including us.
you're welcome. Thank you. So directors, that'll conclude our meeting today. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and be safe and enjoy yourself. And we'll touch base next month. If you have any questions in the interim, please email me and let me know. Have a wonderful day and weekend. Goodbye. Okay, stop recording.